Hello everyone, welcome back to FairlyDeterminedFM with me. My name is Chris. Welcome back to, factually, the best club in Colombia. We won the league. Spoilers if you haven't seen last episode. We won the league. We won the lot. Look at this. Second phase winner, Millonarios. And I am led to believe that the second phase is the important one rather than the first phase. Next year, just before we get into the meat of this episode, I want to win both. I want to win the first and the second phase because... That would make us... Has anyone done that? Yeah, Nacional have done it in 2013. First phase and second phase. That's the goal for next season. Is the first and second phase. We're going to win them both. What I said I wanted to do at the end of last episode was to go through some of the data for this season. Just, have a look at a few things and come up with some ideas for next season and maybe look at how that could inform our transfer business. So what I'm actually using for this, rather than the data hub, I'm using the team detailed stats that you get in the league because it I think is a little bit. I like the data hub, but it still needs a few tweaks. I've talked about it before. It still needs a few tweaks where the data is quite. I think it's a bit fragmented. You can't really look at a stat and then see how that affects other stats. There are some things where it's not really clear. Like you'll get. My biggest bugbear is the one where it says you don't make enough clearances and blocks, when all that really means is if you've got a high possession stat is that you're actually really good with the ball, so you're not making many blocks and clearances. It's just little things like that. I just find it a little bit easier to read and a little bit easier to make decisions based off of, or assumptions based off. So first one is average possession. We were third in the league for average possession, which I'm really happy with. That was kind of... I like playing possession football. I'm not a direct football liker. I don't really like direct football. I like having the ball. I like playing it around because if we've got the ball, then they haven't. It's a cliche, but it's true. If we've got the ball, they haven't, and that's good. So over the why did we play fewer matches? Did they play? They must have played in some other Oh yeah, they would have played in the Apertura final bit as well, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. So over 48 matches, we had 55% possession. That puts us in, third in this average possession thing. That's good. I want to keep that up next season. So I'm not really too fussed about having to make any changes to improve on the possession. We were only 1% off the teams who finished in the top two for possession. So I'm happy with that. So the next ones were about the goals. I was certainly in the last few episodes of this season, I was getting a bit het up about the fact that we weren't getting many shots on target. But... the data says that I'm wrong on that. So where's shot on target ratio? We're fifth in the league, which doesn't sound great, but we're only 2 percentage points away from the top two, who got 41% of their shots on target. So we're not actually, when you look at the rest of the league, we're not actually that bad for shots on target, which is interesting because it felt to me like we were seeing, if maybe not entire games, but certainly entire halves where we wouldn't get any shots on target. And that was really frustrating for me because I couldn't match that up with the tactic. I couldn't figure out why that would be in terms of the tactic. But we didn't actually do that badly. We got 249 shots total, which is quite high. I think shots for... Yeah, we're third in the league for shots for 632, of which we got 39% on target. That's not bad. A minute since last goal was 1 minute, because I think it's because we scored in the 90th minute. So we're not actually that bad. I think I was possibly overreacting ever so slightly. Deportes Tolima, by the way, 776 shots, 41% on target. They shoot a lot. I'd quite like to bump this up a bit. And Nacional as well, 696. We're a bit of... We're well ahead of Junior, who are in fourth. We've got a good 50 shots more than Junior, but 50 shots fewer than 40 shots fewer than Nacional, and a lot, 120 fewer, 130 fewer than Deportes Tolima. So I'm not actually that upset with the shooting as well now, which is strange. Expected goals over performance. Boom. Right, we overperformed by 8 goals on average over the course of the season. Pretty pleased with that. However, you look at Tolima and you look at Nacional, they overperformed by a lot. I'd quite like to be getting these sorts of numbers, just scoring more. I say that I'm not that fussed about the shots on target thing now, but I would like to be scoring more. We got 82 goals total, which isn't bad, but it's a good 20 odd behind Tolima and Nacional. Yeah, I just would like to score more. You can see there as well, they got 8 goals from corners each, whereas we only got 3. We're one of the lowest in the league for scoring from corners, so that's probably something that needs to be looked at. I really thought that the data was going to say that we needed to go and have a look at how we're creating, like what sorts of chances we're creating, how we're building our attacking play, but I actually don't think we need to, really. I think we're certainly the 3rd best in the league for all that stuff, which matches up with where we were expected to finish in the league, and also these match up with where they were meant to finish in the league. So perhaps not much to look at there, maybe. We talked earlier about the possession stat as well, but this backed up with our pass completion ratio of 86%. We're really good with the ball. I like that. That's exactly what I want. Nothing really to change here. Yeah, it's such a nice number. I love having the ball, and it says that we're doing it really well. What's also pleasing, I noticed as well, is our cross completion rate, 15%, highest in the league. That I like as well, especially because we're playing wing backs on both sides and an out-and-out winger on the other side. It says that we're getting our crosses away. They're not 15% isn't a lot, but it's a lot compared to the rest of the league, and especially it's a fair bit more than our nearest competitors. They must be playing probably more through the middle. We're playing quite wide, so that's good. If I wanted to change that, all I would need to do is play more through the middle, and obviously naturally our cross completion ratio would go down, but I like that we're getting crosses in. I like that we're a bit of a threat from the wide areas, so I'm not going to be changing too much there either. So there's 3 things that I do think we need to look at specifically, apart from maybe having a look at a corner routine to try and increase our goals from corners. We need to have a look at, so this is final third passes for. This is how many passes we make in the final third. We're quite low in this. We're a good 100 behind Once Caldas and 1,000 or so behind Deportes Tolima. Deportes Tolima, having looked at, having seen their data as we're going through this, I think Deportes Tolima, and having played against them 3 times, they're a high pressing, I think they have a high defensive line, they have a much higher line of engagement, and they like to pass the ball around. And in the opposition half, I think the way they play, they just abandon their half and really, really push. And that's something that I think I would quite like to emulate a little bit more next season. Maybe push the defensive line up, certainly push the line of engagement up a little bit, try and because of our pass completion rate and our average possession, I think if we were to be a little bit more aggressive in how we're pressing the opposition and how we're controlling areas of the pitch, I think that we'll get this final third passes for up a little bit, which I like. Sort of linked to that, but in the opposite, is the opposition passes per defensive action. So we're very low for me in the opposition passes per defensive action. We're allowing 4.5-ish passes, 4 1/3, 4.3, I'll just say the number. We're allowing 4.34 opposition passes per defensive action we make. So the opposition are going to get 4.3 passes off before we put a tackle in, or attempt to put a tackle in. Whereas Atlético Nacional, 4, Tolima's 4.18. Even some of the teams who finished quite low down, are getting tackles in or attempting tackles before we do. So that's something I'd like to improve. And I think, again, what we were just talking about with the controlling the areas of the pitch, I think if we're pushed up more and we're a bit more aggressive, I think that this will bump us up naturally. So that's the other thing I'm going to look at. So we've talked earlier about how I thought that it was shots on target and chances created and all that sort of stuff that was letting us down. But having looked at this next stat, it may not have been. We only ended up with 16 clean sheets, which is, over the course of a 48 match season for us, that's not bad, but we're 6th in the league for clean sheets. So perhaps we need to be looking more defensively and goalkeeping. And again, I'm going to go back to, the controlling areas of the pitch that I just talked about. Perhaps by being more aggressive tactically and not allowing the opposition much time on the ball, perhaps that naturally goes down. Perhaps it doesn't, because we'll be leaving massive gaps at the back for players to run onto, and if we don't have a good enough goalkeeper to handle that, then we could find ourselves going further down this list and conceding a lot more. So it's something to consider, goalkeeping and defending, and we know that we need more defenders. I hadn't really considered that we might need a new goalkeeper, but having looked at this thing, it's possible that we might. So I think to sum up, having looked at this data in a kind of scatty kind of way, is that next season, I want to be a little bit more aggressive in our pressing. I want to restrict more of the pitch. I'm not going to be making any changes to how we play on the ball, because I think we've proven that the wide play that we use out wide is good, because our cross completion rate is quite good. Our pass completion rate is very good, but average possession is very, very good. So I'm not going to make any changes there. I don't really think I need to make any changes in an attacking sense either, because we are actually getting a lot of shots away. I think it's more about space control and being more aggressive, and I think that's what we're going to be going for in the next season. So that's pretty cool. I'm really glad I did this, because I like having more of an idea of what we're going into, rather than just sort of bumbling through the first games and trying to figure out on the hoof. So yeah, tactically, I don't think we're going to change much. I might change this Mazzala role. I'm not a massive fan of it this year. I might just change it to a central midfielder on support, and then depending on who I've got playing in there, use some individual instructions, which I can't do yet because I don't have a player. But use some individual instructions on there to tweak how that player plays, rather than have a specialist role in there. But yeah, I don't hate this tactic. Couple of things, just additional things just to quickly look at. Medical centre, this was a big problem this year. The injury rate, where I did this in an episode, but I'll do it again. We joined, here we go. Right, we joined like 2 days before Uber Quiñones picked up this massive injury in a match against Independiente Santa Fe. I think it was our first match, actually. So we joined just before then. You can see how few injuries they had beforehand, right? Now, watch this as we scroll up. All of these injuries, right? That is a problem. That is a problem. And where were they received? In training. That's a big problem. Now, I was made aware that my training regimes possibly were a little bit like Army Drill Sergeant. Have you ever watched Band of Brothers? You know, where they make him run up Currahee, you know, day in, day out after having just eaten a massive plate of spaghetti. I think I was doing that, or I definitely was. I was told I was doing that, and they were right. The person who told me that was right. So hopefully being a little bit more thoughtful in my training regimes for next year. There's nothing here, obviously, for in the season. But yeah, being a bit more thoughtful with the training regimes next year, possibly hiring in some better physios as well, or some more physios, if not better ones, just additional ones. Hopefully we'll get this bloody injury list down, because this was ridiculous. Like, we lost a lot of players over the course of this season, and that made things hard because we don't have a big squad. And that leads nicely onto the next thing. So we're not going to go through this fully now. We're going to save that for the next episode. Now that we've done the data, and we've got an idea of where we might need to improve, certainly left back and centre back. The next thing is, how are we going to identify those players to do that? And we're going to go over this in more detail next episode, which is going to be a sort of transfery special. But I just want to give you a little sneak peek. I think I've shown this before. This is my stat attack view, and it's statistics that I care about for each sort of like position on the pitch. So defensively, defensive and midfield, and then midfield and attack. You know, so they overlap. Like, I don't really care whether or not my attacking part of the pitch are winning possession or making tackles. Some of them may be the wingers, but equally I don't really care if my centre backs are making many dribbles per 90. So we're going to go over this fully more, but basically what I'm going to do is take these stats that I've got and use it to identify, let's say, a new left back. So I can have a look at Omar Botel and Juan David Diaz's tackles per 90, how often they're winning possession per 90. Not really fussed about the headers per 90 for an outsiders, for wide players rather. Interceptions per 90, dribbles per 90 for them because they're wing backs. I can look at this data and go, right, I need to find a player. If I want a better player, I need to take, the average of the two and add a little bit to it, and bam, I've got my number. And I can use that information to try and find players that don't just rely on the attributes, So that's what we're going to be doing next episode. We're going to be using this data. We're going to be using this data to find players. Apologies to anyone in the West Country for that. So rather than using attributes, I'm going to use data, because I've been watching a lot of attributeless saves recently on YouTube. The Cult of FM does a fantastic attributeless save. He's at Paris FC at the moment. It's really, really good. If you haven't watched that, go and check that out because it's incredible. I'm not brave enough to play without attributes yet. I need the backup. I need to, because I can look at the data, and if I look at the attributes and the attributes are terrible, then it makes me nervous. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try and do like not an attributeless, but an attribute-assisted transfer window, and that's going to be the next episode. I have waffled on for, how long is this video? 20 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support on the series as well. It really does mean a lot. If you are enjoying it and you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Go on, click it. The button's just down there. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Like the videos, share them with your friends if you think that they would enjoy it. And I'll see you back here in a couple of days for this statty transfer window thing. All the best. Cheers. Bye.